You take a laugh. Dom, you come with me.
So, that happened. And if you've not guessed by that little impression and the Gears of War footage in the background, today we're talking about Gears of War and the whole Gears franchise. And the way we're going to do it is the first episode is going to be about 1 and 2, the second one's going to be about 3 and Judgment, and the final verdict. So, Tom, what have you got to tell them about Gears of War 1?
Gears of War 1, Gears of War is a story. The human race living on a planet called Sarah, where they've been at war for, I think, over about 70 years or something. And this army from beneath the ground has come up to pretty much exterminate the human race. And we see Marcus Phoenix and Delta Squad.
For the first time.
Yeah.
The legends that they are. Yeah, and it starts off with, like, you're part of a different squad, and then the leader of that squad gets brutally executed by Rahm, which is at which point you realise just how evil and scary that guy is. I mean, do you say he's the hardest boss out of all Gears games?
He's the hardest boss out of quite a few games.
But like, it was quite a groundbreaking game, wasn't it? Because it was like one of the first ones I remember to have like a cover-based action system as well.
Like, I love the cover-based action shooter. Like, the first time I played it, I was like, what is this? I think I played the first level and just got bored. Because I kept dying. I was like, how do you play this?
And then you realised you had to get on cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was used to first-person shooters like Halo and stuff like that, and it was like once I got into it, it was like, wow, this is really good to look at, and
it was one of the first big releases and big hits for Xbox as well, wasn't it? For the Xbox 360, the first Gears of War.
Exclusive 360 game, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like one of the first ones to really sort of catch people's attention. Like, I saw the trailer with Mad World on, and thought it looked absolutely
epic. That was a great trailer.
I thought it looked epic. No pun intended. Yeah, sometimes I can do shit puns as well. But it did have a multiplayer as well, didn't it? But I mean, I've not really played that, and when you were saying that you didn't really enjoy the multiplayer, I mean, I associate the first Gears with being more just a campaign game, and I don't think about the multiplayer at all with that game.
Nah, the multiplayer was very slow, and it really grinded my gears.
Ugh. Are you going to do this every week?
Might do.
Oh dear God. So if that's all you've got to say, I think we should move on to Gears 2 before you can get some more shit jokes out of this.
That's it. It was slow.
Yeah,
it was very slow, and like the gameplay still hadn't reached its sort of maturity yet. So
yeah, I mean, there was
stuff happened, and you couldn't really explain what was going on.
Whereas in Gears 2, that was a lot more multiplayer based. That was the first proper multiplayer game I actually had, because it was the first game I got for Xbox as well, and.
Yeah.
That was another. I mean, Gears has really good campaigns anyway, but Gears 2 was another really good campaign, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely a step up in terms of like epic grandeur and
nice pun.
The whole sort of, I know, the story.
Yeah.
Like in the first one, we saw base elements of the characters and the world, and there wasn't any cities or anything mentioned in Gears 1.
Yeah, it was like typical in typical like normal gaming fashion with character development. The first one sort of like sets a lot of foundations for the characters, but then from then on in for the next games, you don't really have to do as much of that. You can just focus more on action and trying to make something that's really fun to play, which is what they did, didn't they? And they really sort of like polished it off and made it a bit more smooth.
In Gears 2, there's a lot more character development in the fact that Dom has like a sort of side story looking for his wife, and it's really a story of how him and Marcus sort of become brothers. Well, they are kind of brothers already, but sort of
but they become closer, don't they?
A bit more, It's really, really, really good to watch. It's like I said about Gears 1, it's like watching a film, but on a game.
You're playing. Yeah,
it's mental.
And then there was the new antagonist, which was Scourge, who was another. Complete badass. He's not quite as good as Rahm though. I still think Rahm is my favourite Gears antagonist.
And like compared to Rahm, Scourge is so much easier to defeat.
Yeah, to fight
in this game.
Yeah, because you're riding on the back of a Reaver, the other thing about I like about Gears 2 as well is it sort of laid the foundations both for Gears 3, whereas Gears 1 finished and that was sort of it. But Gears 2, you start to see the Lambent, and it sort of gives you a hint as to where it's going to go for the next Gears game.
Yeah, That and the whole sort of sinking of Jacinto and how
Yeah,
epic
yeah.
that gets at the end of the game as well.
Oh, it's ridiculously epic. And
Yeah.
then obviously there's the famous Gears 2 multiplayer, which was the first multiplayer game I actually had. I bought an Xbox, and the first thing I bought was Gears of War 2, and it was such a good multiplayer, wasn't it?
The maps in Gears 2 were probably the best ones, I think.
Yeah, it's still not been beaten by any other Gears game. It still has the best maps.
I think Judgment has some pretty good maps.
Yeah, I
From
really
what I've
like
seen
that. We'll
so
get onto
far.
that later. We'll get
Yeah.
onto that later about what makes that good. But there are some good ones. But I associate Gears 2 with just. We could spend hours on that game and just have so much fun. And obviously, I mean, it was the first time I played like a cover-based multiplayer game, and it had sort of like little elements that made it special, like the shot punch, the two-piece, which they brought back to Judgment and stuff like that. I mean, what did you enjoy about the multiplayer on Gears 2?
I liked the Horde mode from Gears 2. I liked how they brought that into the game.
Yeah,
Rather than
that
just
was
standard
that-
multiplayer, I think that was a great... And quite a lot of games nowadays will seem to like copy that, like Halo had Firefight and
Yeah.
like
Mass Effect's got
Effect,
its multiplayer. Yeah.
That's, I think Bulletstorm had like a Horde sort of mode as
Yeah,
well.
it
which
does. It does. Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's as good to look at as any other game.
Yeah,
Like, not as
So
good
I
as
mean,
Gears.
that's the big difference between 1 and 2. 1 is more campaign based, and 2 has got a fantastic campaign, but also the multiplayer. It's about 50-50, isn't it? About the two things that make that game great are both the multiplayer and the campaign. Whereas 1, it's all about the campaign, which is why I think Gears 2 is by far the better one.
Well, obviously it's obviously a step up.
Yeah. But it's where it gets difficult is when we start talking about the next games, which is what we're going to do in the next episode. We're going to talk about Gears of War 3 and Gears of War Judgment, and then try and somehow pick a favourite out of those, which is going to be quite tough, isn't it?
I think it's one of my. I think it might be my second favourite after Halo game franchise. So
Yeah, it is a great franchise.
it's gonna
So
be
we
hard to
hope you
look at.
liked our discussion of the first 2 Gears games. If you did, give us a like, give us a comment. In the meantime, you guys take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Say bye to everyone, Tom.
Bye.
You sound so gay.
I try not to be gay, not to sound gay. Right. I try.